Everybody. I see we have a nice full house today. So again, my name is Dustin Puryear, Giant Rocketship. So we turbocharge your MSP by automating help desk and Autotask. And this is my weekly office hours, which I dedicate to really exploring Autotask and tackling those issues that come up again and again. And I had a couple of questions sent to me via email. But I also, I always like to pull out one um, post or request on Reddit or Facebook or the LinkedIn group, which isn't nearly as active as daily groups, but just so you know, there is a LinkedIn group. And it was really about how do we manage sales inside of Autotask. So we're going to tackle that. So again, this is a weekly webinar. It's very consistent. And I will be with you pretty much every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central. So what I would like to do is let's share my screen. All right. So again, every week, every Thursday, 10 a.m. So let's get to it real quick. So the thing I want to tackle real quick is managing sales in Autotask. What I find particularly for smaller MSPs is that they really struggle with this because they have 57,000 different platforms they're trying. Now, the reality is Autotask is not the best CRM or marketing or sales platform out there. The CRM is good enough, but the reality is if you're really scaling the MSP and it's getting really large and you have a bunch of salespeople, then a lot of times you're just going to want to get a dedicated sales marketing and marketing platform. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you're using Manage, Halo, whatever. None of them are going to be able to compare to a really dedicated, focused sales and marketing platform. Just not possible because that's not the business they're in. That said, particularly for smaller MSPs, you can totally handle sales inside of Autotask. And for account managers, you could really stay in there indefinitely. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through what that looks like. Okay, so let's minimize this real quick. And so I want to go over sales management and Autotask, and we're going to build out queues and some ways of doing that. And so let's tackle that. So when you are handling sales in Autotask, and it doesn't matter if you're handling inside sales or outside sales. In other words, if you're doing account exec work, which is the outside sales, or account manager work, which is the inside sales, it can be handled, but you have to make sure you're set up properly. So we have the CRM, right? And that's going to go to our accounts. And a lot of times what happens is people look at this and they're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm supposed to track everything as like notes. And all right, so I guess I'm going to do a note here. And here we go, note. And I'm going to create a note, and maybe I'll do it for a future date or activity. And honestly, that doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is there's no good machinery inside of Autotask to properly manage that kind of stuff. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to tackle three issues, really. We're going to tackle how do you track inbound sales activities, whether it's a web form being submitted to you for inbound leads, or if one of your customers has a request to buy some new PCs. Both of those are sales activities. So that's 1 and 2, which is the kind of account exec work, the account manager work, and then how does your account manager track that they need to do like QBRs or regular meetings, regular calls, the kind of stuff, particularly at small MSPs really struggle because they just keep forgetting, oh, I need to call my customer and schedule lunch with them just to say I appreciate them. So that stuff goes really far in sales. So let's tackle this. For number 1 and 2, we're gonna handle all of those activities inside queues. Again, notes, account notes just don't work for that because there's no real recurring activity you can do with that kind of stuff. So, and I have a note coming in, a request here. And so, okay, cool. I'm gonna get to that. So, okay, let's see here. We're gonna do the first thing is we're gonna create a queue. And service desk queue. So let's go ahead and do post sell is really just for generated stuff from the opportunity system here, so we're not going to worry about that. We're gonna have a queue called cells. That's going to be the home base of our cells. Now, if you're a large organization, maybe you're going to break that up into cells and account management, two different queues. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create some, let's see, we're going to create some issue types dedicated to cells. The cells, and what's nice is, honestly, a lot of times I'll explicitly stuff, but you can, there's a workflow rule that a trigger, or not a trigger, but there's a way of updating queues using this. We're not going to worry about that for now, but just a heads up. So new cells issue is inbound web forms, right? And then the next one we're going to do, I have some already written out here. We're going to do customer request. Now here's another one we're going to do. We're going to do QBR. Those are kind of, let's just say that these are the three types that you want to handle, which is somebody's contacted you using your website. An existing customer has a request for you. I need to buy 5 PCs and a QBR that's out now. I need to go talk to these customers. And then going forward, what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you're routing properly to those queues as step one. Now, it really just kind of depends who you're using for your email processor. I'm a big fan of Travis's email to AT. If you use the inbound one from Autotask, that's fine. But make sure that all of your emails from your website, so let's give an example. Let's go to us. By the way, while I'm here, I want to remind everybody we do have a community, list of consultants, list of industry events. The next thing we're going to be adding is a directory of IT and MSP specific podcasts. I think that's going to be awesome. There's a lot. People are always trying to find the latest and greatest. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a home base for everybody. And that's totally free. You just go access it. Okay, so let's take a look at our form. All right, so when this form is filled out, where does it go? This is actually a newsletter one. So let's look at this one. When this form, and everybody's got one of these on their website, when this form is filled out, where does this go? Now, for us, we're not using Autotask for the CRM just because as a SaaS company, it's a completely different model. It's much higher transaction rates. And so Autotask would not work for us, but absolutely, it can work, particularly for a small organization for the sales management. And so where does this form go, right? And so almost everybody, if you have 5 people, 10 people in your MSP, you have this form going to an email address, and that's not going to work for you, right? And so there's a couple of issues with that. One is it can get lost in spam, and the second thing is, and something you never think about, and that's why you don't want to use account notes, but you want to use tickets, is you can put SLAs around responding to new sales requests if you use tickets, right? And I will tell you, in high-performing large sales organizations, you better believe that they have SLAs on their response times for sales. That's why they respond to you in 5 seconds. You're like, holy smoke, that's awesome. It takes me 5 days to respond. You better believe they have numbers around that. And so where does this go? So for us, we would point it, yes, keep pointing it at an email address just as a fail-safe, but that's not going to be your primary. That's going to be more of an archive inbox somewhere. But what you really want to do is you want to point this to an email address. Let's just say that you have you're using email to AT or Autotask or something else, and you just have going to sales or whatever at inbound, Autotask, whatever, right? So it's pointing toward one of your queues, right? And then when it gets into that queue, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure it gets coded using a workflow rule or the inbound email processor who, what do we call it? Website form. So it's going to go to the queue cells, the issue cells, and then the sub issue is going to be website form. And then again, the benefit there is it gets slammed into the queue. You can build a little graph of it on your dashboard just so that you can triage and handle those calls. A lot will be spam. You'll just delete those tickets. But the SLAs are awesome. You can see how long does it take on average for me to respond and process my inbound forms. It also lets you do a big thing that's so difficult for a small MSP. It lets you delegate that management to somebody else, right? So if it's going to your inbox and then you're like, oh, let me give it to somebody else, I'm going to update the address and let me walk them through it. But if you're using the same mechanism always from help desk to yourselves, then you can delegate that. And so think of all the spam that your triage person might handle for you. Goodness gracious. Let's try this again. I don't know why. Oh, you know what? This tenant always locks me out really fast. Let's try this. Oh, wrong one. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to log back in. It just kicked me out. And this is our dev tenant. So you're gonna see my MFA, and that's okay because that's for 20 seconds. Okay, so again, it's walking you through all the virtues of using tickets, man. You can delegate it, you can let somebody else handle the spam, you can offshore it, however you want to do it. Much more difficult if you're handling it via email. Via tickets, easy, just another day. And so that's how we would handle website forms. Now, for inside sales, what would happen is, let's say that we have a ticket. And in this ticket, your tech is like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, this is interesting. They want to buy some new PCs. So in that situation, well, if you were using Rocketship, you just have a workflow set up for it. You click it, it would route it to your account manager. If you're kind of using just legacy Autotask, it's going to take a little bit more work here. And so maybe we have a Autotask form for sales. I don't have one set up for this webinar. And so what we would do here is, and this is definitely where Rocketship shines. Makes all of this much easier. But okay, so you would go to sales, and then they would say, oh, this is a customer request. And then they would send it over there. Now, let's talk about another issue, which is sometimes you have tickets where the customer is asking for two things. They need support on X, and then they need new equipment, which is Y. Or maybe you have a 911 situation, you band-aid it, but then you also need to purchase or replace something. Let's say a network switch goes down at your customer site. Your tech goes up real quick with your little loaner, which you should be charging for $5 a day. Don't do loaners for free. And because in the argument of not doing a loaner for free is if the customer wants better uptime, they need to have spare equipment around. Or you can have inventory and you sell it to them. But if you do just in time kind of stuff, then you need to be charging for your loaners. Anyway, so in that situation, sometimes you want to keep this ticket open and then you want to create another ticket. So what I like to do in that situation, and let's do it here, is I like to create a duplicate. I like the little graphic they're doing now for that. But what I want to do is I'm going to tie these two together, right? And so maybe I new equipment for problem tickets. Maybe this is like you convert this into a problem ticket, and then maybe you want to link to it, and this is your child ticket. And that's one way to keep track of like multiple threads when you're working with tickets. New equipment needed for problem X. Now, if you don't need to use problem child relationship, this is how I recommend you do it. This is how you can link tickets. And then we're going to go ahead and create this. And so we would say this is sales, customer request, and customer. We have a loaner out to the customer. Customer needs XYZ. We're going to save this. So we're working through all the little glitches that people typically have with cells inside of Autotask, how to manage it. Because really doing the quotes and opportunities is a no-brainer once you figure it out. It's really how do you handle all the stuff that goes around it that people try to make account notes work for and it never does. Okay, so notice now I have a sales ticket that's going to go to my, that I would have assigned to my account manager. And also notice I linked it, and then maybe we want to document this. And so you would say, I'll be honest with you. You should my opinion is it's totally cool to create or edit descriptions with very pertinent information. Um, Short-term solution handled, long-term purchase is being handled by a ticket. And yes, you can put this and you should put this into your resolution, but man, look how easy this is going to make stuff look. And usually if I edit a description, I recommend you bold your edit. And so it's obvious what was the original versus what you edited. But notice now a couple of things. Notice that we have without using the problem incident relationship, which is probably a cleaner method, but not everybody wants to do that. Notice how easy it is. Look, I've solved this ticket. The fire is out. I want to close it because you should be SLA driven. So you want to close this ticket as fast as possible, but closing it properly. So you've handled it with the loaner. The long-term solution is that the account manager needs to sell a, Cisco XYZ to the customer so you can get your loaner back. Make sure you've logged your loaner here so that it's being charged for by your accounting, $5 a day, $10 a day, however you want to handle it so that the customer has pressure on them and they don't just dither on this purchase. That's how you do it. You charge them a daily fee. And that's how inside sales would manage things. Like you're kicking tickets into inside sales. Now there's an SLA you can put on this ticket specific to sales, right? So instead of quick turnarounds, maybe you give your account manager 5 days to get things closed out, yada yada. You've got that, and it's linked to the account, so you have a link to it in your CRM, and you're able to run reports off of it. And also, I believe you can convert this to opportunities now. Let's see here, create new opportunity associated with this ticket. And so this is another potential way of having done that, which is, but I will tell you, I don't always like going right to the opportunity because sometimes, particularly for form fills, you don't want to clutter your CRM with a bunch of trash. And so if you let the account manager handle it this way, you got some other benefits around that. So it's really up to you. But that's how I would handle using the CRM and service desk modules to handle sales. Let's see if I have any more questions specific to that. Doesn't look like it. Okay, great. So that is the main problems that people face with tickets and rather opportunities and account management. We also talk about doing QBRs. So we've handled the inbound forms. We've handled inside sales, which was that second part. And let's talk about QBRs. So QBRs are very peculiar little beast, right? So a QBR is quarterly. You can call them also a executive business review. If it's not quarterly, maybe you just do it annually. Maybe you do it monthly for huge accounts. But it's a recurring activity. And the way you're going to handle that is you want to create recurring tickets. Now I'm going to do that inside of Rocketship because it's a whole lot less tedious. And in a second, I'm going to quit sharing my screen for a second. And what we're going to do is we are going to do this inside of Rocketship real quick. And only I wasn't logged in, so I'm logging in now. All right. All right. Now, this kind of works also in Autotask. The problem with Autotask is that the recurring tickets, there's a couple of issues, but one of the major ones that I hate is it's kind of tied to the account. It's a lot of work to reproduce it. So I'm going to show you the theory just by implementing it here, and then you can break it out in Autotask. So let's go create some recurring tickets. So what we would have done, we would have created a template. QBR. And blah, 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 right? And so you would have your framework, your SOP for what a QBR looks like here. Then we would go create our escalation. Nope, we would go create our recurring ticket rules. And what we do is we would create the rules that it runs once a quarter, right? QBR for MSP. And let's see, we would pick this template. And for all of our MSP customers, we'd have a CRM search for that in Rocketship, but I don't have that set up. So we would just point it there. And then I would just say, look, every 90 days, I want to create a ticket of new. And it's low priority. Don't make stuff medium and high priority unless it needs to be. People always say, oh, this is actually important. And then you have a million sales high priority tickets that nobody ever gets to, right? And the dev pin is not set to sync with our auto task regularly. So generally this would say sales and then issue and then sub issue. And so we'll just put it into account management. Now, one of the cool things about Rocketship here is that we can automatically assign it and then even schedule it, book it out for that person. And so now let's just run this puppy. And who's this for? Let's see who it's going to run for. And so it's going through a little test run. And then the benefit here is like, since it's 90 days going forward, it will only schedule that once every 90 days for that customer. And so, it takes a little bit of time. It's doing a little search. It's going to create those tickets. And then inside of Autotask, then all of a sudden you'll have some new tickets created for your account manager. So let's just go ahead. So it created this ticket in Autotask. And now we've just automated our QBR process. We don't have to worry about it again. So think of all the things we've accomplished here using for sales in Autotask. One, we now handle all of our website forms as tickets. You can delegate that out. Maybe you'll make the phone calls, but you have somebody else triage and filter and clean it up for you. Two, we have completely controlled our inside sales with tickets. You have SLAs, everything else you need. And now instead of having to remember you need to go to lunch with your customer once a quarter, now we've scheduled it to where it's every 90 days. You never have to think about it. It's going to automatically assign it to Gary Davis. It even booked them using the service call, which will show up in their Rocketship zone right here. And we're good to go. So it said, look, 420. The next one, it would be 90 days from then. And now we've handled those recurring tasks. And the thing that tricks people or gets them caught up in whether or not Autotask can be helpful to them is typically it's the recurring activities they struggle with. And so recurring tickets are phenomenal for that. Okay, cool. That is going to be it for today. Again, always feel free to email me at Dustin@GiantRocketship. Or you can even just go to our contact forum to send questions. And then typically that's how I get the stuff I want to talk about. All right, thanks. Again, Giant Rocketship, we turbocharge your MSP by automating your help desk and Autotask. Have a good one.